Albania is known for its beautiful coast and it is working hard to attract more tourists. Many investors are interested in doing business there, including Jared Kushner and his wife Ivanka Trump, son-in-law and the daughter of the US President-elect Donald Trump. Well, they plan to build a hotel and villas on Sazan Island and on the Vlora coastline, both known for its beauty and crystal clear waters. Well, the sites were deemed protected areas by the law, but Albanian officials reversed this decision, citing economic opportunities. Omer Saraci reports from Sazan Island.
Communist dictator Enver Hoxha about 50 years ago referred to Sazan Island as one of the most strategic points not only of Albania but also of the Balkans, famously stating, "We hold the keys to Otranto." Prime Minister Edi Rama said the island, forgotten for decades, is set to become a jewel in the crown of the Mediterranean.
Right now, I'm working with my husband. We have this 1,400-acre island in the Mediterranean, and we're bringing in the best architects and the best brands. And these are actually just internal, early renderings. So we're in the process of doing the master planning now.
The project has received Rama support.
Jared Kushner, një sipërmarrës I madh amerikan dhe dhëndërish Presidenti Trump, shpalli publikisht ambicien për të investuar në 2 projekte të mëdha turistike në Shqipëri.
Albania is attracting visitors and investors from all over the world. Kushner plans to build exclusive villas and resorts on Sazan Island on one side and on Vlora coastline in the area of Zvernec on the other.
The island behind me is where Kushner plans to build a cluster of a few hundred villas blended into the rock terrain of the island. The resort will be managed by the prestigious hotel brand Aman, and the planned investment by President Trump's family in the Bay of Vlora are expected to reach $1 billion.
Some who work with the sea in the Bay of Vlora say the plans should be supported.
Sazani në mënyrën e pazhvilluar si aktualisht është dhe si operohet deri më sot, do të ishte një humbje e madhe për vetë ishullin, por dhe për Vlorën dhe për mbarvendin.
Çfarë mendon për këtë investim, Baçi?
Zhvillimi I Sazanit do jetë një mirësi për gjithë komitetin e Vlorës, edhe për mbar Shqipërinë.
The island was initially established as a military base by the Italians during World War II. Later it became a base for the Albanian Navy, hosting around 5,000 personnel. The island's new residents will come from all over the world to bask in the Mediterranean sun and revel in crystal clear waters of the Adriatic Sea. We move to the coastal area of Zvernec, where the next part of Kushner's investments is planned. A rich strip of land between the Adriatic Sea and the Narta Lagoon.
Është diçka shumë e mirë, edhe për fshatin, edhe për Vlorën. Edhe sidomos do bëj edhe aeroport I ri, thonë që do bëhet rruga këteja. Edhe akoma më mirë.
Saktësisht nuk na është thënë, s'na ka ardhur dikush të thotë që kështu do bëhet një investim. Kemi dëgjuar nëpër televizione. Tani investimi është gjë e mirë.
The government has designated the area as protected area, as it is home to numerous bird species and features idyllic natural surroundings.
The arrival of lucrative investments like Kushner's appears to have led the Albanian government earlier this year to revisit the law on protected areas. By introducing the legal amendments, they have effectively opened the door for the construction of 5-star resorts in areas previously designated as protected.
Ndryshimet ligjore të fillim vitit për ligjin për zonat e mbrojtura normalisht kanë tjetërsuar kuptimin e një zone të mbrojtur edhe qëllimin pse ato shpallet. Në këtë mënyrë zonat e mbrojtura u vjen shërbim, le të themi, këtyre resorteve me 5 yje. Zona e mbrojtur është në shërbim të natyrës së pari dhe të njerëzve lokal sipas traditave të tyre.
Kjo është sa I përket njerëzve, po sa I përket shpendëve.
Këto ndërhyrje pritet të kenë patjetër ndikim, jo vetëm tek llojet e rrezikuara, por edhe tek llojet që kanë abundancë shumë të madhe, domethënë popullata mjaft shëndetshme.
What environmentalists view as a park that must be protected for its ecological value, the Albanian government sees as a golden opportunity for a profitable investment.
Flasim për një aplikim të cilin ne do ta shqyrtojmë në një proces sipas ligjit dhe mbi të cilin ne do të negociojmë pjesëmarrjen e shtetit në atë investim e të tjera. Realizimi I këtyre zhvillimeve pasuron shqiptarët.
Qeveria do duhet të bëj një analizë të thellë kosto-përfitim. Për shkak të një e para thellësisë së ndërhyrjes dhe jetëgjatësisë së projekteve, të cilat mund shkojnë dhe përjetësisht, do të duhet që vendimarrja mos i takojë një qeverie jetë shkurtër. Vendimin nëse do të dojë ta ndrojë apo jo destinacionin do ta marrë policia lokale aty, e cila do të bashkëjetojë përjetësisht me këtë ndryshim.
Kushner's plans highlight the country's emergency as a rising star in global tourism. The government is focused on economic opportunities and employment, but critics underscore the importance of safeguarding the environment and supporting local communities. The pressing question remains: can development and conservation truly coexist in this Mediterranean paradise? Omer Saraci, across the Balkans, Vlora.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has revealed his choices for nearly all significant positions, assembling a team to implement and manage his policies. Some of them already have strong links with the Balkan region. Among them is Marco Rubio, the nominated Secretary of State. Many people believe Rubio would be good for the Balkans and especially for Montenegro, as he previously voiced strong support for its NATO membership. Two other names that could have a huge impact on the Serbia-Kosovo dispute are John Ratcliffe, nominated for CIA Director, and Richard Grenell as Envoy for Special Missions. Ratcliffe is well known for supporting Kosovo's independence, and Grenell played a pivotal role in the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue during Trump's first term. Now, for more on what Trump's cabinet picks would mean for the region, Angelushe Morina joins us from Berlin. She's a senior policy fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations. Great to have you on the show again, Angelushe. I want to pick up from the story that we've just seen about Sazan Island. This is the first time we will have a U.S. president whose close family members plan to invest $1 billion in Albania, in a Balkan country. What can this mean for Washington's relations with Albania, but in general with the Balkans?
Thank you very much for the invitation. This is definitely an interesting moment in international politics, and of course an interesting moment for the Western Balkans as well. I think Albania is not the only country. In fact, Albania is not the only country that will probably potentially see U.S. investments that are linked to the next president's family. There is also an investment interest in Serbia, and the plans have been underway for both Albania and Serbia. But I think these plans have not been finalized because recently we have seen that there is Senate committee investigation into looking into these potential investments in the region and what would this mean for the next presidency. There also this finance committee in the Senate is also looking a little bit closely into the governmental representatives of both Albania and Serbia, who, apparently reached out to the investment firm belonging to Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of the future president. But this actually means, for the region, it means quite a lot if these projects would go through. I think, first of all, this would determine that Trump administration or, the surrounding of the Trump administration, in this case, it's his close family dealing in these investments, not necessarily the government itself. But it just proves that the foreign policy would be probably redirected to what we have seen during the Trump first term, redirected to the transactionalism and maybe a little bit more focus on the economic benefits, rather than prioritizing democracy, rule of law, stability in the region, the policies that we have seen with other administrations.
Right. I wanted to ask you about Serbia in my second question, but you already mentioned those deals in Belgrade as well. Former NATO headquarters has been also part of some of the possible future deals of Jared Kushner. We've also seen one of the biggest supports in Europe, according to one poll, in Serbia when it comes to support to Donald Trump. We've also seen Bosnian Serbs celebrating, although their leader is currently under U.S. sanctions. Also quite interesting trying, extraordinary times that we are living in, isn't it? So considering the pics we've seen for his cabinet, were these celebrations too early? What kind of policies we can expect from them?
Exactly. I think it's too early to tell. There has been celebrations, there has been comments and different statements coming from different groups in the Balkans, pro-Trump statements. But I think it's too early to tell because it's not very clear what the foreign policy of this incoming administration is with regards to Europe. What we do know is that there is an attempt to withdraw from Europe. There is an ambivalence in the next president's rhetoric towards NATO. So the security issues might be, something to watch for, might be in jeopardy, especially regarding the region, when we know that the fragility is, security fragility, it's still there and quite present. But if we look into the current picks of main national security advisor Mike Waltz, but also the upcoming nominated state secretary Marco Rubio, then we can have some kind of an idea that this is, especially national security advisor Waltz. He comes from, or he was involved in the administration of George W. Bush. To me, this says that there is some institutional memory with regards to the region, with regards to developments in the Balkans. George W. Bush was quite pro-stability, democracy, rule of law in the region, seeing stability in the region, pushing the region for Euro-Atlantic integration. Not so sure that this would be the case, but still there is some institutional memory in this particular position. And with Marco Rubio, I think Marco Rubio is one of those people who will probably want to focus more on China. But it doesn't mean that he so far, he has not been, very loud into pulling all the security aspects in Europe, US security aspects, and pulling out of NATO. We haven't seen any of this. Right. Having said this, from security advisor, we do know that he's not very pro continuing aid to Ukraine, which I think means a lot for the region as well.
Exactly. I have time for one more question, and I think we have to mention here the role of Richard Grenell, who is nominated to be a head for special missions on behalf of Trump. He already played a significant role in the Balkans. What does this mean for Kosovo-Serbia relations?
Especially for Kosovo-Serbia, I think it might not be exactly good news because, if we go back and look into his involvement and the deal of the land swap that was being discussed then, and the agreement that was reached that was mainly focused on economic cooperation that didn't come to very much. But I think I have to say that the appointment of Richard Grenell as an envoy, presidential envoy for special missions, I think it could mean many things. It hasn't been defined yet what these special missions are. But if we look into, the events happening around the world and the approach of this administration and also a little bit of previous administrations, that Balkans is not a top priority for US administration anymore. Maybe even Europe is not one of the top priorities in many ways. There will be a lot of focus towards China. There will be a lot of focus in hotspot areas like North Korea, Middle East, and so on and so forth. But anyhow, I think if Richard Grenell would come back to be involved a little bit more, as part of his portfolio, a little bit more in the Balkans, I think that we really have to be very careful and ask, all the European member states to be more involved in the aspects of security, especially, and to try to convince this administration that security in the Balkans is really important at the moment, and that has to be sustainable.
Let's just hope they will do so, and they will pay attention to this part of the world as well. Angelushna Morina, always pleasure to have you on Across the Balkans. Thank you. And thanks for watching this episode of Across the Balkans. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.